Good morning, everyone. Hope your day is going well. Just got myself to my computer, so thought I would do a quick post. Saw something online, the Mercury News, and also it was in a few of the UK papers. Maybe I'll get to one of them, maybe not. But it says here Harry and Meghan visiting Nigeria despite State Department's advisory on travel there. Apparently, the US State Department has issued a travel alert to discourage travel to Nigeria. It says the US government, along with the UK, Canada, and Australia, discourage travel to Nigeria right now, citing risks of violent crime, kidnappings, and terrorist attacks. And I'll tell you something. Um, how do I put this? Look, I've never been to Nigeria. I've never been to Nigeria. And in fact, I have never been to any African country. Um, I want the first time I go to Africa to be to visit the country where my ancestors came from. And that could be more than one country. I don't know. I don't know what my DNA um, I don't know where I come from, because of the history of my ancestors and slavery and the British government, which is why I sued them, by the way. But that case has been paused. I have paused that case for my own reasons. But so I don't know where I come from. But that said, I digress. Megan knows where she comes from, at least in part, and it's Nigeria. And she has been invited to Nigeria, and everyone's very excited about it, including myself. Now, prior to hearing that Megan was going to Nigeria, have I heard that that certain parts of Nigeria may have certain things going on there that may be deemed risky for travelers? Maybe, right? Maybe. Have I heard of conflicts between different tribes or groups and girls disappearing? Lots of girls disappearing and all kinds of things happening. Have I heard those things? Yes, I have heard those things, right? Am I concerned that Meghan and Harry could be in any danger whatsoever by traveling to Nigeria? Well, look, I mean, I would be disingenuous to say that I'm not worried in some way, but Meghan and Harry traveling anywhere, even in the United States, is a security risk, which is why they need heavy security. They need heavy security wherever they are, whether it's in California, whether it's in New York, whether it's in London, whether it's in UK. I mean, there are no safe cities. Just this week, or yeah, earlier this week, someone was walking around London with a sword and killed someone, right? I mean, no place is safe to travel as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you go there but for the grace of God and you pray and you hope for the best. Okay, that's it. Are there certain places that I would absolutely avoid traveling alone as a single woman without heavy security? Absolutely. Am I in the same position as Harry and Meghan as far as my travel risks? No, obviously not. They have a higher travel risk, but they also have a much higher security protection detail. When they go to Nigeria, they are going to be heavily protected by the Nigerian military. Could there be any infiltration? Could there be bad actors? Could there be people who are paid off from external forces to do something in Nigeria to Hagen, to Meghan and Harry? Well, Hagen, if you say you put Harry and Meghan together, it's Hagen. Okay. It's like Bennifer and Brangelina. It's Hagen. Okay. But that was just a slip. Um, could people be paid off? Absolutely, they could be. Um, you know, not everybody in Nigeria loves Meghan and Harry. Not everybody in Africa loves Meghan and Harry. Not every person of African descent loves Meghan and Harry. Not every black person, quote unquote, loves Meghan and Harry. They have enemies no matter where you go. And to be perfectly honest with you, Is it conceivable that they could have enemies mixed in with friends, like high profile enemies? Yes, it's conceivable. Is it conceivable that this could happen in Nigeria? Look, again, it could happen anywhere. So, what's the takeaway here? Well, I don't know really. It says here Prince Harry reportedly wants to promote the Invictus Games in Nigeria, while Meghan Markle may enjoy the opportunity to connect with her self declared 43% Nigerian ancestry. But some security experts are scratching their heads at news that the couple plan to visit Nigeria this month. To the U.S. State Department, the African nation carries a level 3 advisory, the second highest risk level, because of concerns about crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed gangs. I mean, do I think these are things Meghan and Harry need to be concerned about? Again, I think that anyone can do anything for the right price. And it doesn't matter where in the world that is. That could be in Nigeria, it could be in Denmark, it could be in the UK, it could be in America, it could be in India, it could be in Australia, it could be anywhere in the world. For the right price, you could always find someone or a few people to do your bidding. Um, do I think this will happen in Nigeria with this visit? Well, I'm glad that they haven't really specified for the press the exact date of their visit. So that will make it harder for bad actors to plan. But even so, I mean, there are people they just lay wait. They lay waiting for to pounce. They are armed, they're dangerous, they've been paid, and they do things. Because the thing is, I worry about the fact that these papers in the UK have made this an issue. If it's either they know something or they're trying to, um, what's the word you would say, to incite something, they're giving people ideas, in other words. They're giving people ideas, in other words. And that is what's dangerous about it because um, I saw, let's continue with this one. It says here the State Department strongly advises Americans to reconsider travel to Nigeria, where the country's military has also been fighting a deadly war against Islamic extremists in the country's northeast since 2009, the Associated Press reported. The visit seems even more surprising given Harry's deep concern about personal security. The California based Duke of Sussex has sued the UK government, headed by his father, King Charles III, over his belief that he, his American wife, and their two children can't be safe while visiting his home country unless he has access to taxpayer funded protection. I thought he was willing to pay for it himself. Um, it says here, it's strange that he personifies the risk factors here in UK and is willing to go to one of the world's most dangerous countries, said Day Davies, a former Royal Protection Officer. I want to, who told the Daily Express, I would want to know the rationale for this visit to what is a very dangerous place. Well, again, just this week, you had some guy walking down the streets of London with a sword and killing people. And this isn't an isolated incident. I mean, London seems to be a very, very dangerous place. I mean, people are driving by on bicycles and just grab your phone in broad daylight. I mean, I see things on YouTube and TikTok going on in London that I would be scared actually to just walk down the streets in London as well. So, what is a dangerous country? What is the world's most dangerous country? Who's defining that? Who's saying that? I've never been to Nigeria, right? So I can't really say anything about the country, what's going on there. I can't say that it's a very dangerous country. I can't say that it's not a very dangerous country. I can say that I've read stories and I've seen articles about it, especially in terms of, the kidnapping of young girls and all kinds of craziness going on. Um, that all said, I mean, how does that impact Harry and Meghan? Well, look, I'm glad I'm not the one having to make the decision about the trip and about their security. I'm sure that they're not, you know, taking anything for granted. And I'm sure that, the Nigerian military and the Nigerian government would not want any tragedies or problems on their watches, on their soil with Harry and Meghan. But I mean, in general, I would say Harry and Meghan absolutely have to be careful. It doesn't matter where they're going. It doesn't matter who you are around, friends, schmans, as far as I'm concerned, right? Because you can have a group of 10 people and nine of them are your friend, or you have a group of 12. Let's go with 12. 11 are your friends forever, for life, and there's one who betrays you, right? It's as old as time, this story. And so they have to be careful. It says here Nigeria's foreign ministry acknowledges the country's impediments to tourism, which include the 87 million people living below the poverty line. But the ministry says Nigeria has much to recommend. I mean, I live below the poverty line. I live in France. So I don't know what that even means. I mean, why did they throw that in there as far as Meghan and Harry's trip? I mean, it's just they're trying to dog Nigeria really, and not really. This is all about making people terrified of this trip, and you know, just putting a monkey wrench into the trip, and it just messing up the trip because I mean, I live below the poverty line. I live in Europe. I live in France, right? I live well below the poverty line. So what? It doesn't mean that I don't have a good life. It doesn't mean that, I am a terrorist or a criminal or anything like that. I mean, people can be poor and be decent and be kind and loving and happy. People can have money and be horrible, and vice versa. Poverty doesn't make you a good person necessarily. Neither does wealth make you a bad person necessarily. I mean, I'm just saying that what does the poverty line have to do with this trip that Meghan and Harry are taking? I don't know. They just threw that in there, and now it's making me think that they're just trying to lambaste Nigeria and make just turn the whole thing into mud. It says here, but the ministry says Nigeria has much to recommend it for visitors, including beaches, rivers, wildlife, vast tracts of unspoiled nature, rapidly growing cities, and rich and varied arts and traditional cultural traditions. Nonetheless, the US government, as well as the governments of the UK, Canada, and Australia, discourage travel to. I mean, look at the countries. I mean, the countries that are discouraging people from traveling to Nigeria. I mean, with all due respect, you know, these countries have their inherent biases against African nations. That's just the bottom line. And yes, it does go back to slavery. It's never stopped, right? It doesn't mean that Nigeria it doesn't have its problems. I'm sure that they do. I've never traveled there. I'm not an expert on Nigeria. I'm not saying Nigeria is safe. I'm not saying that it's unsafe. I'm not Miss Nigeria. I don't know anything about the country. But I think the idea that it's so very dangerous, some of that is bias. Some of that is racial bias, right? Because someone was walking down the streets of London the other day with a sword and killed someone in broad daylight, right? And this is not an isolated incident in London. So, what what's a dangerous country these days? It seems like every country is a dangerous country. Every country is a dangerous country. And to label these African nations in the way that these Western countries do without, a second thought, I think is disingenuous at best. At best. Anyway, it says here, discourage travel to Nigeria right now, saying that violent crime is common and kidnappings for ransom occur frequently, with criminals often preying on visitors with perceived wealth. Look, Harry and Meghan just need to be careful because once they put these ideas into, and that's what they're really doing, is they're putting ideas into the minds of people in Nigeria, some people in Nigeria, whether they're in gangs or whatever they are, who feel no allegiance to Harry and Meghan. Again, not just because someone is African, just because someone is described as black doesn't mean they love Harry and Meghan, And so They put ideas into people's heads and then they execute those ideas for the drama of it, for the ugly, for the filth, you know. So I do think Harry and Meghan absolutely need to be very careful. I mean, very, very careful, whether they're traveling in Nigeria or elsewhere. But with this particular trip, I think that there are people who have an invested interest in making sure that it is a catastrophe, right? So they need to keep that in mind when they maneuver this, you know. Anyway, that's it for this one. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.